Hi friends, it's Becky, and I had said when I opened up this curated bead box and had this little metal turtle pendant in it, and this was the June curated bead box, that I wanted to paint it in an ombre color. So that's what I'm going to do with you today, and then after it dries, I'll turn it into a necklace. But the first thing I'm going to do is do these paintings. And I'm going to be using these Ultimate Paints Colorful Soul. I'm using the emerald color and the blue lapis color. And I got these from Softflex, and I believe they still have them available for sale on their site. But I'm going to be going from green at the top all the way to blue at the bottom. And I've got a little, just a silicone tipped paintbrush that I'm going to be using. So let's open these up and get them started. I don't need that much paint, so I'm just going to put 2 drops of green paint out. And I'm going to just start here at the top. If I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections, then I can have green right up here on this upper part. And I've just got a piece of paper down here that I'm using both as a paint palette and as something to protect my desk from this paint. I can throw this piece of paper away when I'm done without worrying about having to clean out a palette or anything like that. It's just going to make cleanup so much easier. So I've got that green on there. Got a little cup of water to clean the paint off that brush before I go to the next one. And I'm going to just squeeze out 2 drops of blue over here, if I can squeeze it. Oh no. Did the nozzle get plugged from the last time I used this? Let's, I'm going to just grab some scrap wire here. There we go. It was plugged. Scrap wire to the rescue, and I'm just going to do 2 drops of the blue over there. So I'm doing green on one end and blue at the other. Then we're going to meet in the middle. Kind of love the way that this paint looks on the metal, because you can still see that metallic sheen through it. Like that. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is, for my first mix, I'm going to paint this middle stripe by doing a single drop of green right here. 1 drop of green and 1 drop of blue, so it is an equal amount of the paint mixed together. Come on. Ah! Well, that's a little much. Let's try again, because that came out a little too quickly. So 1 drop blue and 1 drop green. Mix those together. That should give us a really nice teal color. Ooh, gorgeous. Gorgeous! It's going to be right here in the middle. wanted to make sure I had equal amounts of green and blue for my middle part. And we're going to have a little more blue for this one, then a little more green for that one to get a true ombre color. All right. Now, let's do, I've got my single drop of blue here, so I'm going to do 2 drops of green to mix that in. 1, 2. And that way it will be more green leaning, but it'll still have some blue in it. Here we go. It's a nice stepping stone from the blue to the green. Now this shouldn't take it too long to dry, so when it has dried, I will turn my camera back on and show you the beads that I've pulled out to make a necklace with. Alright, so now I've got that little step halfway between pure green and the half and half mix. And I've got my 1 drop of green on this side. So I'm going to pull out a little drop of blue. I don't know how much the ratios are on that one, that's why I'm not using it, but I'm going to do 2 drops of blue here. 1, 2. So that way it'll be more on the blue side, but it will still have some green in it. Like that. There we go. And that'll take me right here to finish this up, to give us an end result on our ombre turtle shell. Just a little bit more. And I'm only doing the shell. I'm going to leave the silver for the fins and for this outer banding around it. It's just this decorative part of the shell that I wanted to paint. Alright, friends. Pick this up and bring it a little bit closer for you to see my ombre turtle shell. I love it. And that's going to look amazing on a necklace. So let this dry, and then I will come back with some beads and we will turn this into some jewelry. Hey guys, I just remembered while I was getting some stuff out that I have these little turtle charms. So real quick, I'm just going to paint them to match my turtle pendant so I can have myself some earrings. And I'm just using kind of a pointier silicone brush because this is so small and I want to be able to have a little more control over where I'm painting. So I've got that one, and then the next one, I'm just using the same ratios to mix my colors. On these, so I've got those 2, and this next one, and then this should be, oh, that is not half and half. I need to add a little more blue to that one. That was a single drop of green and doing a single drop of blue, so it's half and half. The other one was more green, but still some blue, and then the first one is all green. There we go. And then this third one is more blue, but still some green. Oop. And then the last one is just blue. And if I can actually hold it instead of having it fall down everywhere, that would be great. Because I'm just trying to get this turtle shell painted so I can have little baby turtles. Okay, and this one's more blue. It should be more blue. Actually, is it? That seems like it's more green than blue. Let's mix some of this blue in here. There we go. There we go. And then just some pure blue. I got that over there. Yeah, sorry about that. I was gonna just start making that necklace, and then I was like, wait a minute. Because we got these little guys. So I'm gonna paint the second one exactly the same way that I'm painting this one with y'all. That way we'll have a little bit of an ombre on my tiny turtles as well. And here we are. I have my turtles all painted and ready to go. And I love that these coconut rings are like the same color as this middle line of teal. And then we've got these crackle glass beads that are the same color. So I'm just going to stick with this color palette for my earrings and for my turtle necklace. And I'm using some 20 gauge wire for this. I'm going to be making some links with these crackle glass beads. And I'm going to be linking those links between these rings to make my necklace. So I'm going to need, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these. When we do that, and I'm going to need to make sure that the loops on that are big enough to go around these rings. The tools that I'm using are going to be some basic wire working tools like these round nose pliers, some chain nose pliers, and some flush cutters so that I can cut my wire flush. I'm going to move these out of the way so we stop confusing my camera. And I'm also going to move these up here to this little space so that they are not as confused as they were. I'm going to move my turtles up out of the way as well so I can grab them when I'm ready to keep going. I'm going to work a little bit off of the spool when I'm making this, and I want to make sure that I have some wire wrapped loops. And usually I do about 2 inches for wire wrapped loops if they're smaller loops. But for this one, I'm going to be using the end of my round nose pliers that's closer to the handle, so they'll be bigger loops. So I'm going to go down about 2.5, maybe 3 inches. I'm going to give this a bend away from me first, and then where I'm pinching right here, pull this wire towards me and around. I'm going to open my pliers and just rotate them, and then bring it down all the way here until it crosses in front, and that gives me a balanced loop if I bend it before I do the thing. So now I need to hook it onto something before I wrap this loop, because these links are going to be closed. I want them to be hooked onto the thing that I want them hooked onto before I wrap this loop closed. So I'm going to be using these coconut loops. And then 1, 2, 3. I could probably have done that with less wire, but I would rather have a little too much wire than not enough. And now that's connected. And once we've got our bead on here, and you could do this before you put the bead on, I'm going to go ahead and use my fingers as guides, and about 3 fingers down, cut my wire again. And once more, if this is 20 gauge wire that I'm using, you could do this with 22. It would be just fine. Alright, and I'm going to make another wrapped loop on this, and I want my loops to face the same way. So I'm going to turn this so that this loop on my, my wire loop becomes a straight line instead of a circle. And then I'm going to bend this wire away from me like that, and that leaves, because I'm bending it over the top of those pliers, it leaves me some room down here to wrap the rest of my loops. So then I'm going to take my round nose pliers, I'm going to bend this all the way around the top, twist it just a little bit until it's crossed over, because I need to hook it onto the next thing that it's going to be attached to before I close it. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to swing open this loop like it's a jump ring, so there's room for this to get on there. Put on my next loop, and then close this up. Whoop. There we go. And then if I continue on with this, I'm just going to do the same thing with the rest of these beads until I have a link in between each of the rest of these. So I'll put a link in there and a link in there. I'm going to continue doing that until these are all connected, and I'll meet you back here once I've got that done. You don't need to watch me do all of these links. I'm just cutting off my excess, by the way, and then tucking that extra wire in just around that neck. And that gives me a nice little wire wrapped loop. So I'm going to connect the rest of these the same way, connecting before I wrap and then adding a new ring for the second wrap. So now that I have my chain all linked together, I'm here at the end, and my very last link doesn't have another ring that I can connect it to. So I'm just going to make a loop that is closed and not connected to anything by bending over the top. And I'm going to stick with large loops for the necklace, even though it isn't necessary for this part, just for aesthetic's sake, for consistency between the links, so it doesn't look all weird here at the very end. So I got myself a nice loop that is just the same size as everybody else, and I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it without opening it and attaching to something else. And because with these links it's not long enough as a necklace, just with the coconut links between it, I went ahead and made some extra links that are just like this one, like that aren't attached to anything, in order to lengthen this. And then I grabbed some jump rings. These are just the jump rings that came in the Curated Bead Box, and I just used the jump rings to connect the links together like that. Close them up and then connect it to this link on this side. I've already done all this on the other side, by the way, of this necklace. You can see that there. So we're just going to do these super quick, super easy. These links are fun to make when you want to just kind of relax with some wire and some beads and do something that's sort of repetitive over and over and over again. That's one of the reasons why I like making beaded chains. So now we've got our necklace, and there's one link right there in the middle, and that's what I'm going to end up attaching my pendant to. But how, you ask? That is a very good question. And I think what I want to do is grab some more of this wire, and I'm going to make another large loop at one end of this. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way. Just the same stylistically as these other large loops. Actually, maybe need that to be a little bit longer. There we go. And I want to attach it to this loop right here, this center one. So I'm going to slide that on there. Boop. Scooch this closed. Then once I've got my wire wrapped link, I'm going to cut off about 5 inches of wire from there. There we go. And I'm going to use this to attach my painted turtle onto here. So there we go. You may hear Ellen in just a little bit. She's very vocal today. Very vocal. Alright, so now I'm going to need to get this guy onto here, and I think I'm going to use this to kind of help hold it in place a little bit. I'm going to stick it right here in this section here, and I'm just pinching this bead into this little depression area right here next to it. Oop. Trying to make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. Alright, I'm just going to bend this around the neck of my turtle with this wire. There we go. That way. Let's tuck this guy in a little bit. A real quick and dirty way to bail this guy up. Like that. And now he is attached to my necklace. And he's not going anywhere. Alright, let's get a closure on here. I'm going to just grab one of the lobster clasps from here. Oh, that's right. We have some ear wires. I can just use those for my earrings. Super easy. So I'm just going to take a lobster clasp and one of the jump rings. I'm going to attach that jump ring there and this jump ring there. I don't need the extra jump ring, but I'm going to use them because I could have the lobster clasp just hook onto this loop, but I don't want that. I want to hook it onto this instead. So let's open up our jump ring. You open up a jump ring by holding one end secure and twisting. Don't pull it apart, just twist it. And that opens it up so then you can hook things onto it. Like this and this. Then close it up. You just want to make sure that those ends meet when you close it up. And then let's do this one on this side. works better with the chain hose pliers is the one that twists and the other one holding it steady. There we go. Bloop. And now we have a super quick, super easy necklace. Using these links, making a beaded chain, and painting our little turtle. And let's make our earrings. I went ahead and made one of them already. So let's make the second one together. Still using that 20 gauge wire. And this time, instead of doing large loops on the ends, just doing smaller loops. I'm using the end of my round nose pliers that's further away from the handle, closer to the end. So that gives me smaller loops. And I'm starting out with one wrapped loop that is closed already. I'll be attaching my ear wire to that one. Oof. I think I probably didn't start far down enough for that one. Well, let me get the rest of this guy off of here. So I need to use my pliers to wrap this guy around. Because I don't have enough wire for good leverage. Alright, now I can add another one of these beads. It's just a really, really simple earring design. It's just going to have a loop on one end, a bead, and then a loop on the other end. And the second loop is going to be attached to my charm. And I want these loops to be perpendicular. So if I'm looking at this link, I don't want this loop to be a line. I want to see it as a circle. When I bend over the top of this and then make my loop, I'm bringing it around and crossing it over. And since I want to attach this to my charm before I wrap it, I'm going to go ahead and pick that up and stop what I'm doing right now. Get my charm on here. And now I can wrap this guy back up. See, the wire's long enough so I have enough leverage to be able to wrap around without needing to get my pliers involved. Alright. And now let's pull out those ear wires that came in this box. Now, I can wear these because I don't have a metal allergy or a sensitivity. But if I was making these for someone else who did, I would use some of my handmade ear wires, but this is going to be just fine for me. All right. What I'm going to do now is these ear wires have this loop here on the end. I'm going to swing it open and make sure this is facing the right direction. Pointy end is toward the back. And that makes an earring. My little turtles to go with my big turtles, and they are all painted and pretty, and I love them. I absolutely love them. See, we weren't done with turtles yet. All right, I'm going to put a link to the subscription box and my unboxing for this in the description below. I'll put a link to where I got the paints as well. And what else do you need? I don't know. I also usually put links to where I get my beadboard, and I can put links to these as well if you wanted them. But otherwise, I think that is about all that you need to know about this guy. I love him. I will try this on in my weekly wrap-up this week so you can see how it looks on a person. And I hope y'all have a fantastic week ahead. Bye for now. Happy beading.